It was just very organic, honestly. I guess like I was working with hella artists before, and then it's always been about the music really for me. Like even doing cover art and stuff like that was really just based off like my interest in the music. So the first show I did was with Flo headlining, YSN Flo headlining, and so I was doing his cover art. He was coming up real heavy, and it just made so much sense for him to have a show in Cleveland, and like no one was booking it, and like I'm the type of person who it's like it's like if I see something that should be happening but no one's doing it, then I'm not gonna go get someone to do it. I'll just go do it myself. So that was like the first show that I did, was just him and 4J and Freshie and Ryan and Owen and a bunch of people, and that went real well. My first show we made bread on, which you never do. Like your first show, everyone always loses money. So I was like, gotta keep doing this. And then went to school, and then Doughboy was dropping this big album with Future and Gunna and all these and Uzi and all these people on it, and no one was throwing a show for him in Cleveland on that day. So I was like, damn, throw a show that day. And actually that show's turnout I think was not even as big as my first show, just because of some promotional issues that I had to learn my lesson the hard way about. But yeah, and I just kind of fell in love with doing that thing, so now I do it still. I think there's a few different things to it really. It's just kind of like you have to be yourself. Like no one wants to fuck with somebody who's like just trying to fit in and like trying to, like I do this shit for the business and I do it, but I don't speak to people on that end of things. Like you got to just be completely organic and transparent, because as soon as there's an elephant in the room, no one's gonna really fuck with you on that end. And as far as networking works, like no one's going to tap you in with their people if they're unsure about you. So that's one thing. And then just like cutting your ego out the door, like that's how you got to do it. Like egos are what kills most people out here. Like just kind of like thinking you're bigger than you are, or speaking bigger than what you got going on. Like all that shit will just, it's for the birds. Like there's a whole level of people that just don't do that, and the people with the egos, they're under that level, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they're looking up, speaking as if they're there. You gotta just be you and be transparent. Yeah. I've known Fresh for like 4 years, something like 3 or 4 years, something like that. I mean, I've known who he was for a few years. Like before that, we were doing some like indirect work, but we tapped in when I was working at a studio downtown. I was a creative director at a studio downtown, so I had an office. So now I was like at the point where I could start holding meetings. So I was hitting him up, like, come through the studio, like link up, like, I'm fucking with your music, link up. And he would always be like, yeah, I'm coming. And like now I know him better. I would have expected this, but he like never would come on time, or he'd be busy and I'd be busy. But we started tapping in then, and then we finally linked up at that first show that I threw, because I had him on it. It was called Up Next Fest, and Flo was on there, he blew. Freshie's on there, he's blowing. 4J was on there, he's up. Like, so Fresh just fit the mold for it. So I put him on there, and we met there. So we started tapping in on that end, and like there's a lot of things I could have done for him then. Like I feel like tapped in on like the creative side or on the rollouts or whatever, but like I had so much respect for his like process that I didn't even want to get involved. I just wanted to let him go do his thing and like just support, do what I can as far as shows, but let him have his own process. And then I was out in LA, he was out in LA. I tapped in with him. We linked out there, and I was telling him the first time I went to LA this summer, I was like, I got plays for you. Like we have to come out here together and really get things going. And we finally linked in LA, and I introduced him to the Hitco people. I threw a show out there in like 5 days, had him on there with Zelly, and after that it kind of just came to a point where it was like so much shit was kind of coming up for him from that 1 month that we were out there, that it was like that we had to get things official if we were going to move forward with it. So then I became his manager at that point. And since then, we've already done like 3 or 4 shows since that's happened. He just dropped that song since then, 100,000 on YouTube already. He has a single that just reached 1 million. You know, everything's on the come up right now. So, you know, we're in paperwork now, but it's still, with him, it's still the same. I'm just kind of pushing him a little more than I would have usually. But, yeah. I think timing and like goals are really where patience comes in. It's like for me, like like I said, when I was 14 years old, my goal was to start a record label / like production company. Like, but I had a big goal for it. I didn't want like a small one. I wanted like one I could put out in LA and take over the game with. So it was really like being realistic and being patient are the same thing. Like, because if you're being patient, you're waiting for the right time to happen, and that's a realistic thing. If you're not patient, then you're being, you know, delusional about what's really going on. So I told myself at 14 that I'm gonna do this when I'm 22. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna build my network. I'm gonna load up, you know, do all the work that I could do. And like that overlying patience, I think, was the biggest thing for me. Like give myself years just to like develop as a business and a person. And then just, like shows and shit. Like there's a lot of artists that I'd like to work with and a lot of people I'd like to put on shows, but yeah, it's all just waiting for the right timing and just, you know, being patient with it. Like this Ken Carson shit. I've known who Ken Carson was for a long time. Would have been someone I booked multiple times, but now it's like I was patient. I see that it's kind of his time is like right now, and no one had booked him in LA. It's the same thing. Like no one stepped up and did that during this time. So, you know, I locked in on that same mentality.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
But the underground is always going to be like a year ahead, and it's like the people who are being experimental. And, you know, as much as people may sound similar in this wave does not sound similar to any other thing that's going on, you know? So I just love it because it sounds different, you know, like just like sounding different has always been the name of the game, but now it's like it's so easy to just go sound like Polo G, and then you're gonna be mainstream to a certain extent. You may not hit, but you'll sound mainstream, and that's easy. It's not easy coming up in the underground. Everyone, Ty and Uno and, you know, all these people, we're all coming up through sounding different, and like really when people hear it, they're like, damn, like off immediately. Like that last song Freshie dropped, like that beat like immediately hits you. You're like, you know.
The sounds.
That's what I love about it. Like these crowds too, like are just crazy. Like I'm throwing these shows for, you know, artists like that, and these crowds, I'll put it in like this show I got coming up, it's got a 400 to 500 capacity. I'm putting 500 to 600 in there, and everyone is gonna be like this, and they're gonna fucking love it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, because this is a crowd that likes to rage. There's gonna be mosh pits. There's gonna be people jumping on top of each other. People at my last show, Lil Tracy came out as a surprise, and people started crying. Like I saw girls in the crowd crying. Like it's just a different thing. Like it's like a totally different vibe than a lot of the shit that's going on. So that's why I like it. Off the rip, I guess, on that, like just you have to allow yourself to take risks, and you need to be comfortable taking an L. Like shows especially, these are multiple $1,000 investments. Like you can't go in and expect every one of them to be, it's at least your first couple. You gotta experiment. My first show, like compared to my most recent one, it's just completely differently built out. You gotta allow yourself to take risks and invest in yourself, and that's really the main thing, just investing in yourself. I don't know, a lot of people are afraid of just the risk, so just don't be afraid of the risk, and understand that every time you take a L, you're just learning, and it's only going to make that next risk even more secure for yourself. And then I guess the other thing I would say is you have to go as hard as you humanly can. Like it goes for anything, but if you want something to happen, you have to work harder than everybody. Like I don't know anybody who works harder than me. I don't. Like Fresh works as hard as me at his craft, and it's incredible to watch. Like it's just, you can't, if you see someone working harder than you, that should inspire you to work harder than them. And it's not a competition thing, it's just to show you that you can be working harder.
Yeah.
Don't short yourself, because then when the day comes, you don't want to look back and be like, damn, I wish I did that, that, and that.